Welcome to a More Beautiful World podcast with Susyn Renee, a place for those of us with the desire to expand our consciousness, tap into higher vibrations of love, and to connect into a community where together we can make the world a more beautiful place. I'm so eager to share with you what I've learned on my journey in discovering how we're all connected and how what we do for one, we do for us all. Here, I'll be sharing my own experiences, knowledge, and expertise for how you can heal, transform, and ascend your being so that together we can create the more beautiful world we all know is possible. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A More Beautiful World. In today's episode, we're going to talk about myth busting meditation and how you can easily begin a meditation practice today and transform your life. So, during today's episode, I'm going to bust some myths about meditation. I know so many of you out there aren't practicing meditation because you have limited knowledge about what it is and how to do it. Or maybe some of you are practicing and you just haven't really been consistent with it because of all the things that you think have to be in a meditation practice. And I know that can feel really overwhelming. So a lot of you may not keep up with it regularly. But I'm here to tell you, you can begin and maintain a meditation practice much more easily than you think. And today I want to share with you how to make that happen. So, with meditation, you'll experience the benefits of healing your mind, your body, and your spirit. And it gives you the ability to embody a more authentic and aligned and better version of yourself. So, if you desire to take advantage of these benefits, and if you've been curious about incorporating a meditation practice or deepening your meditation practice, then this episode is going to be for you. So, to get started, I want you to think of a couple questions as we dive in to ponder on during this episode. Do you feel called to connect more deeply into who you are? Do you want more clarity on your vision and your purpose of your life? Do you want to align with higher energies and emotions and elevate your moods? Are there areas of your life that you want to make improvements in? Well, if you answered yes to any of those questions, then let's get into how to make that happen because you can make it happen with a meditation practice. So, at my spiritual center that I go to, they always say that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. And I really have always liked this definition because it's very simple and to the point. Now, when I say God, I use that interchangeably with spirit, universe, source, quantum field, higher self. So, again, meditation is listening to spirit. It is listening to the universe. It is listening to our source energy. It is tapping into the quantum field and your higher self. So, there are a few other definitions of meditation. They include training your awareness and attention to produce a mentally calm and clear and stable state. It is defined as a practice used to sharpen your focus and bring yourself into the present moment. It's a practice used to help you pay attention to the present moment and move into acceptance and non judgment. I've also heard it, called taking charge of your mind. And all of these are true in a meditation practice, right? And they all have their own truth to them as a definition. But as you can see, there is a lot of variety in the definition of what meditation is. And I even would say, there are spiritual teachings out there in different religions that all use meditation in a variety of ways. But I think what I want to kick off with today is talking to you about what meditation isn't, because I think there are a lot of myths out there about meditation that are keeping you from practicing or practicing more regularly. I know for me, when I first got into meditation and was like kind of hearing about it back around 20 years old, I had all sorts of questions about it and thoughts about what it was. So let's talk about what it's not first. Okay. Um, and when I say what it's not, it can be any of these things, all right? But it doesn't have to be. And I think that's the key point I want to talk about. Meditation doesn't have to be a certain way. We're going to talk about some of the key components that you can bring in to make meditation, but what are things that don't absolutely have to be in? So, what is meditation not? Okay. It isn't sitting completely still in lotus pose, like some Buddhist monk for hours or days on end. It isn't about turning off all of your thoughts and turning off all of your emotions and going into a completely, neutral state. It isn't about having, these transcendental mystical experiences all of the time. And again, while all of that is possible with meditation, they aren't these must haves for a meditation practice. You do not have to, sit in lotus pose for hours on end, chanting Om in order to have a meditation practice. And it isn't that you need a temple to go to. You don't have to have an entire room dedicated to meditation. None of that truly matters. Again, can it all be incorporated? Sure. Can you have transcendental mystical experiences? Yes. Can you get to a place where you can turn off your thoughts? Yes. But it isn't necessary. These aren't requirements to meditation. So let's talk about what does make for a successful meditation and what really is the simple goal of it all. And as I see it, and I've really felt into it on my own spiritual journey, it goes back to my spiritual center's definition, which I just love. They say meditation is listening to God, listening to the universe, listening to source. And again, for me, I use all of those words interchangeably: God, spirit, source, quantum field, higher self, right? It's tapping into these higher energies, these higher frequencies, and being able to listen to what they are saying. So, before we dig into how you can easily incorporate a meditation practice into your life, let me share with you a quick overview of my meditation journey and how it really has transformed my life. So I have been meditating on and off since I was first introduced to it at the age of 20. I had a really dear friend in college who turned me on to some really amazing meditation music and talked about how it can rewire our brain and, get us into a clearer headspace. So right now, again, that was at age 20 when I first started dabbling, we'll call it, in meditation. And I'm sitting here at the time of this recording, having just turned 36. So I've been practicing meditation for about 16 years, And while the first 10 years of my practice was inconsistent at best, I'd go a few months of like kind of doing it every few days. And then maybe I'd get into like a period where I'd do it for a couple weeks, and then I'd go a few months without doing it. It was in my life, but it wasn't in my life. And so what I really want to talk to you about and hone in on is the last several years of my journey with my meditation practice. So I've always known meditation as a beautiful tool, and I've always had some experience with it and incorporating it into my life. But I really committed to my practice of meditation to help me navigate through two really big changes in my life. And that was leaving the corporate world, leaving my 9-to-5 job and stepping away from, while a really good job and could have been a really, fruitful and prosperous career. I was making a lot of money in the corporate world when I worked in finance. I knew it wasn't aligned with me. And at the same time, during that transition, I also was getting some sensations and some feelings around needing to end my marriage. And it was during this time of these two very big, heavy decisions that I started to tune in, and I decided let's give more time to meditation because I wanted to listen to the universe. Right. I wanted to be able to find this connection to my higher self, to these whispers that I was hearing, and tap into my own truth and my own intuition and, expand my awareness. And listen to what spirit was really calling me to do. What was my purpose in life? What was I meant to do? And what was in alignment for me? I knew from how I was feeling back in about 2015. I knew I wasn't living in alignment with who I truly was or what my purpose was here on this earth. So that is when I started getting into a more regular practice. And again, at this point, it was probably a few days a week. It wasn't an everyday thing. But it did help me start to listen. And it allowed me to find strength and courage in that alignment and connect into my purpose so deeply that I was able to start honoring myself, and I was able to leave the corporate world, and I was able to get divorced, end my marriage, and move on my journey. So that was kind of when I'd say momentum started to really build. It was around that time I had also gone back to school to deepen my studies in holistic nutrition and lifestyle and meditation. So I was really bringing it in more frequently. But then I want to fast forward for a couple years of ups and downs and beautiful experiences. I want to fast forward to about 500 days ago, because at that point, I was meditating almost every day. I'd say I was very consistently hitting 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. So I was meditating almost every day, but I still wasn't fully committed. I wasn't in this daily commitment to it. And so it was, again, roughly 500 days ago now, I decided to set a goal for myself to meditate every single day for 1 year straight, because I knew at that point how much meditation had helped me transform my life. I knew the blessings it had brought in. I knew how powerful it felt when I was in consistent practice and I was tapping into my higher self. So I decided, let's see what happens by doing this for 1 year straight. Now, I am pretty intense. If you guys know me, maybe you're even picking up on that if you're just learning who I am in these podcast recordings. So 1 year was a pretty big goal. It was a pretty intense goal, but I knew based on my history that I could do it and I could make it happen. So let me quick tell you all of what transpired during this time. I met my sacred partner. I got fully into alignment with what I'm meant to do in my business. I connected with, in perfect divine timing, the best business coach I've ever had. I also got into a spiritual mentorship. I connected into very deeply my spiritual community and my tribe around me. I also saw the highest amounts of income I have ever seen in my business. I was gifted and just like divinely offered some opportunities to go and sit with some plant medicines. And that helped me take my spiritual journey even deeper and further than ever before. And I've got to tell you, with the meditation practice, and I know it all stems from it, I have been able to connect into the deepest joy, the deepest peace, and the most resilience that I have ever had in my freaking life. Okay. All of that I do attribute to my meditation practice. It is where I can listen in. I can listen to God, listen to source, listen to universe, and it is my guiding light. So let me tell you, with all of that happening and knowing that it was stemming from, this root practice of meditation, I knew when I hit the 1 year mark, first of all, there was a huge celebration for myself personally. I was very excited that I had met that goal. When I hit that 1 year mark, though, and I'd seen all that had transpired in my life and all that had transformed, I knew I was never going to let go of my daily meditation practice. So I'll tell you a little bit more about what that looks like and how I practice, but I want to get into sharing with you how you can get your practice going, okay? And not in an overwhelming way, not in a way that feels like it's heavy or it's a punishment or it's another freaking to do on your list that you've got to check off. All right, I want to talk about it feeling easy, feeling in flow, making it simple, because I do feel this is critical. If you want to expand your awareness, if you want to better yourself, if you want more health and prosperity and wellness and abundance, and if you want to improve your mind, your body, your spirit, in any of those areas, if you want to make improvements, meditation is key. So with that, I first feel it's important to share this very critical piece that I believe we all need before we begin. And that is this. You need to be deeply connected to your why. And why do you want to meditate? Are you ready to hear your inner voice and intuition more clearly? With any big change that we make in our lives, I feel like connecting to our why and why we are doing it is of utmost importance. This is really what will keep you inspired. It will keep you motivated. So for me, as I committed to the 1 year daily meditation journey, about 500 days ago, and I've been keeping up with it, what has kept me going is my why. And I've shared my why a few times on this podcast before, but my biggest reason is always I want to better myself and align with my highest version, my highest expression of me, because I want to show up more strongly for all of you. And I know my purpose has been called to share my gifts, to share my medicine, and help you improve and help you become better so we can all together make our world a more beautiful place. So get clear on your why. And let's just kind of bring that into talking about the key things that you really need for a successful meditation. And the first one is intention. Okay. And that is where you are connecting into your why. What is your intention for your practice? For some of you, it can be as simple as wanting to reduce your stress, wanting to increase and improve your mental health. Maybe you want to let go of the anxiety, the overwhelm. Maybe you feel like you worry too much and you want to let that go. Maybe it's depression. Maybe you've been feeling a bit numb and sad and grieving and you want to let that go. Whatever your why is, deeply connect into that and deeply know that, because going into a meditation practice, it is important to have that intention of why you are going to sit and practice or lay down or whatever it might be. We'll talk about that. So another key thing that you need for a successful meditation practice is any environment where you can just be with yourself and breathe. So again, a lot of times I think a big myth with meditation is that you've got to have a temple or a meditation room or this like really, elaborate space to be able to meditate in. It's not true. We are busting that myth today because I have meditated in so many places. On an airplane, in a car, while I'm driving, out in nature, in my bed, falling asleep, in my bed, waking up, on my couch, on an empty floor, in an empty room, out in the middle of the desert, creekside, lakeside, you name it, I've probably meditated there. I've even meditated in a closet before. Okay, so anywhere that you can be with you, which pretty much means anywhere, right? But it is helpful if you can be alone, and without distractions, and do have just a bit of time to focus on your breath. Okay. And that takes us to the next thing that is important for successful meditation, and that is having awareness on your breath. So, one of the benefits of meditation, if you know, I have a history of working in clinical practice with anxiety and depression clients, and that is all about the nervous system. And so many of you out there have chronically active fight or flight nervous system responses. We are in this sympathetic fight or flight mode all the time because we are so stressed out. And one simple way to move from that fight or flight state into what we call the rest and digest state, the parasympathetic nervous system, that is what we ultimately want to be in, like 23 and a half hours a day. That's how our bodies were actually designed. One way you can shift from the fight or flight back into the rest and digest, that parasympathetic mode, is by having awareness on your breath and focusing on your breath and manipulating your breath to calm your body down. And this is what helps you get more clear, get more quiet, feel more calm. And it's as simple as this. Start by counting your inhale, count your hold of your breath, count your exhale, and count your pause. If you are new to a meditation practice, I recommend starting with an inhale count of maybe 3 or 4, maybe hold for a half second, a full second, exhale to the same count of 3 or 4, and then pause for a half second or a second. Okay. So simply inhaling your count 1, 2, 3, holding it for a moment. Exhale 1, 2, 3, pause for a moment, and repeat. Focusing on your breath and manipulating your breath is such a simple thing to do. And it is so important to have a successful meditation. Now, you don't have to keep doing it your whole practice. I highly recommend starting with that, especially if you're new to meditation. It's a beautiful entry point just to get your body used to calming down. All right. Because by manipulating your breath, again, you are literally calming your body down. And it's when you get to that place of calm, that is when you can start to expand your mind, calm, the monkey mind, get rid of those thoughts and, start to let go of some of the ego. But again, we're keeping it simple today. So count your inhale for a few seconds, have a quick hold, count your exhale for the same, pause quickly, and repeat. All right. So again, taking it back to the key things we need for successful meditation. We talked about intention, connecting to your why. We talked about, an environment where you can be with yourself. We just talked about, having awareness of your breath and counting your breath. So the next key piece is a simple one, although sometimes hard to implement, and that is consistency. So again, given my 16 years of history with meditation, I can tell you when I'm consistent with it, big shit changes and shifts. Big transformations happen. When I'm not consistent, life gets stale. It starts to maybe ebb more than flow. And I feel disconnected. I feel like I'm not in touch with my intuition. And that's when, some things start to get difficult, and that's when there starts to be more of a struggle. So, how do we keep it consistent? This is one of the favorite things I love talking about clients with is like, how are we creating a sacred routine? And we usually, one of the first things we do is bring in meditation for that. So pick a time for you that is non-negotiable. Pick a time that without a doubt you can commit to each day. And maybe on each day, it looks a little bit different. Okay, maybe Monday through Friday is one time, maybe Saturdays and Sundays, it's another time. Doesn't have to be the exact same time every day, but on Mondays, on Tuesdays, make it the same time. Okay, and start with small time blocks on those days. So with my clients, honestly, I usually have them start with 5 minutes. Okay. And if any of you out there want to incorporate a meditation practice and tell me you don't have time, I will call bullshit on that because I know every single one of us is capable of carving out 5 minutes of our day. 5 minutes less scrolling on Instagram, 5 minutes less of TV, 5 minutes of doing something. We all have things where we can cut out 5 minutes. Okay. So, in order to keep consistent, pick a time that you know will work, that you can commit to, and start small. Make it 5 minutes. Okay. Because research has shown the more that we keep consistent with a practice, the duration doesn't matter as much. It's the consistency that keeps us moving forward. Okay. So those are it. Those are the things you need for a successful meditation practice. Now, are there ways to improve upon it, and make it more powerful? Of course. And I'm going to share a few of those things with you today. But again, they are not requirements. So, of course, I always encourage people, if you can and have the ability to create a sacred space for yourself and a tranquil environment to sit in, it does help. Okay. So if it's lighting candles for yourself or turning on a salt lamp or having beautiful crystals or tapestries or artwork, in a space, that helps. Okay. Because it does help you shift into that calm state. It helps you feel a little more centered if you're in an environment that feels, good and has good feng shui, we'll call it. Another tip is placing your hand over your heart. Our heart is so amazing, and I'll probably do a whole podcast just on how freaking magnificent our hearts are. But it is a center of your energy. And if you want to get into more heart, centered living, get out of your mind and more into your heart, you know, placing your hand simply over your heart connects you into your heart's energy, to your heart's frequency. And meditation, when we talk about, it's like listening to God, listening to source, listening to the universe, can also be listening to your heart and what are your heart's desires. So simply connecting into it physically, put a couple fingers on it. You can go into a prayer mudra and connect in over your heart, or you can simply just rest a hand over your heart. Very powerful to help you improve your practice. Also, one thing I am really big into is bringing in music or sound frequencies to your meditation. I may have an entire episode on this, so I won't dive into it too frequently, but I will quickly recommend the app called Insight Timer. It offers guided meditations, music for meditation, healing frequencies for meditation, so many things that you can work with. I know for me personally, I love listening to music when I meditate and bringing in certain frequencies to help me get where I want to go. So, another tip to improve or expand upon your practice would be to increase, your frequency or duration. But don't do that until you get consistent with your, little 5 minute daily block. Okay. But you can meditate more than once a day. You can meditate for longer than 5 minutes. So that is kind of tips to improve and take it to the next level. But don't do it if you haven't created the space for it yet. All right. You can also bring in some intermediate or advanced breath work, which is really nice to expand your practice. But again, all of these tips are to improve your practice, to expand your practice, to grow upon what you've already started. You do not need to bring in any of that to begin a meditation practice. So I shared earlier, it's not always about the amount of time, or what you get into with the timing. It's about the commitment and making it a regular practice. All right. So for me, even though I meditate every day and I have been we're almost at 500 days. I'm just a few days shy of 500 straight days. So even though I've been keeping up with that, I will be the first to admit there are some days where it's only been 5, 8, 10 minutes. Okay. But some days I meditate for 2 hours, and I go way out into the ether and have, transcendental and mystical experiences. It really depends on where I'm at, what's happening in the day, where's my energy, and ultimately, what am I feeling called to? There have been days where I sit in meditation and I'm 10 minutes in, and spirit's like, hey, it's time to get on with it. So I come out of meditation and move on with my day. And there are days where spirit's like, no, we have some things that you need to hear. And I end up sitting there for an hour, 2 hours. So, sometimes when I meditate, you guys, it's in bed. All right. Sometimes it's in my meditation room. Sometimes it's outside. Sometimes it's at the spiritual center I go to. And sometimes, I'm meditating in the car or when I'm out on a walk. So I share all of that with you because wherever you can start there. Okay. It is not about, again, all of these myths that we think we have to, comply with and all of these rules. Meditation doesn't have rules. Okay. You simply got to get quiet and breathe and listen. That's it. Tap into your heart, listen to what it has to say. So wherever you are, just start from there. All right. Making sure you find a time that you can do it daily, or most days, right? Start with most days if you even can't commit daily yet. Just make sure you're committing the time for yourself and keeping it non negotiable, whatever it is, whenever it is, however long it is. Keep it simple. Again, I highly recommend the app Insight Timer to help you, with some music to get into a good space. You could pick out some guided meditation, some music, whatever you feel called to, but pop on some headphones and go for it. Put on that music, take a few deep breaths, count your breaths if you need to help you, keep a little more focused and begin the process, start somewhere because it really is that simple to begin. And of course, if you want to expand your practice, if you want to go deeper, I'd be honored and would love to chat more with you about that. So make sure you reach out to me if that's what calls you. But there are intermediate and advanced practices you can get into. But all of that doesn't matter until you get started and see where your heart is calling you to go. So we just simply have to let go of all of these expectations, all of these rules, all of these myths to what you've thought meditation might be. Now you know none of that exists. Okay. It really is as simple as find a place where you can be with you, get quiet, do a little breathing. All right. So let go of all the expectations and just begin somewhere. So I hope you found this helpful, tribe. I'm going to be holding a vision of all of you beginning your practice or expanding on your practice because I want you to experience the benefits of healing your mind, healing your body, healing your spirit, and to cultivate the ability to embody a more authentic, aligned, and better version of yourself. And I know the more of us who get into this practice, the more we can all better ourselves and beautify our world. And that's what it's all about. So, okay, that is all for today. And much love to you all, tribe. Mwah! Until next time. Hey, tribe. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this podcast, make sure to like the video below and then click subscribe so you never miss an episode. And remember, I've got lots of free resources available to you to support your healing, transformation, and ascension so you can help in making this a more beautiful world for us all. Make sure you check them out in the description below. Thanks again for tuning in, tribe. And until next time, much love to you all.